Welcome to my channel, this time for a video that will pose some questions to you, dear viewers and followers. I am considering several different camera and lens setups for my upcoming trip to Nepal. And now 4 days before leaving, I still haven't decided what to bring. Therefore, I present you my choices, and there are many, and invite you to voice your opinion. I might decide myself, but you might come up with something that I haven't considered, and thus it might change my final decision. So please comment and vote for your choice. A bit more about the trip I'm going for, a trip that I love and have done several times before. I'm leading a group of 20 people into the Gokyo Valley, ascending Gokyo Ri with its magnificent view of several of the world's highest peaks. After that, we are crossing Chola, a high pass of more than 5,400 meters, coming down a small glacier, and after a long descent finally arrive in the Khumbu area where Everest Basecamp is situated. We will visit the hill of Kalapata at more than 5,600 meters, but for one of the most awesome sunset experiences in the world, the setting sun on Mount Everest and its stunning neighbors, which are also some of the highest peaks in the world. Now to the camera setups I am considering. As you can see, there are 7 sets, and they all include one digital camera set, a secondary digital that doubled as backup if something nasty should happen to my first choice. Then there is a camera for video and vlogging work, which in all these setups is the same as my secondary digital camera. I know that it is a bit risky, as it seems I don't have a backup for my video camera, but like most other people, I bring a smartphone. In my case, it's an iPhone 12 compact. I usually don't do any photography or video on this, but if everything else fails, I would fall back on that. Then there's an analog camera, or maybe 2, I don't know. As followers on my channel know, I love shooting film, and I always bring an analog camera with me on these travels. But the analog camera doesn't only fill that purpose. Some of the lenses for it will serve as lenses for the primary, and in some setups also for the secondary digital camera. In some of the setups, lenses for the analog camera will be used via adapters on either the primary or secondary digital camera. So let's have a look at the setups. The first is a fully Nikon setup. There's where the main digital camera is my old trusted Nikon D800 with 4 lenses, and a further one primarily attached to the analog camera. The secondary digital camera is an old Nikon 1V1 camera, a camera system that is out of production a long time ago but still receives a lot of love, also from me. The Nikon 1V1 doubles as my video camera. And lastly, in this setup I have an analog camera, which is the Nikon F75, which most of the time will be mounted with a 50mm f1.4 lens. For flexibility, I use primarily a Sigma 28-200mm on the Nikon D800. The motifs in the mountains change rapidly, thus I would be changing lenses constantly if I were to use only prime lenses. But I have a very good set of prime lenses, an 85mm f1.8 mostly for portrait work on my digital cameras, a 28mm for wide vistas, and finally a Tamron 90mm macro lens. Also, the Nikon 1 has its own set of lenses that are very small and lightweight, but I can also use all the other Nikon lenses via an adapter. Probably I'll also bring a small lightweight pinhole camera, the Holga 35mm pinhole with its focal range of around 40mm. That camera is included in all the setups if I decide to bring it, so I'll not talk more about this. I have one gripe with this setup. My Nikon D800 has shot more than 400,000 shots, about the double the by Nikon expected lifetime. It might fail on me on such a trip, and then I would end up with only the V1 and my iPhone. Not good, but if you have experience with D800s, having shot much more than mine, please comment below. Now we come to the first of 5 sets that include the awesome Hasselblad X2 with a native lens set consisting of the XCD 28p, the 45p and the insanely sharp 90V. With the 102 megapixel of the X2D I can crop very much in on the images, so I'm not so depending on lens changes, and thus find my prime lens setup works extremely well. In the first of these Hasselblad setups I have combined with the Nikon 1V1 again, and the same set of native lenses for this camera, and this is also the video option. The analog camera in this setup is again the Nikon F75, and here I am including the Nikon 50mm f1.4, the Nikon 24mm and the Sigma 28-200mm, as all these lenses can also be used on the Hasselblad with an adapter. Furthermore, the Nikon FX1 adapter makes it possible to use these lenses on the Nikon 1 camera. The 20mm gives an incredible 16mm equivalent on the Hasselblad, and only vignettes very slightly at f2.8 to f4, and after that the vignette is gone. The 28-200mm vignettes a bit at both the extreme ends of the zoom range, but not from around 35mm to 170mm. If I crop just a tiny bit, I can remove the vignette entirely, no matter the focal length. The third set is now again with the Hasselblad XCD and the native lenses in this lineup. This time, in order to make this a pretty lightweight set, I have replaced the Nikon V1 with a Sony CV1, the camera that I'm filming with right now and the camera I normally use for all my YouTube videos. Again, the Nikon F75 is the analog option, combined with the same lenses as in the previous setup, and with the adapter to the Hasselblad camera. The next set is in most respects equal to the previous. The only change is on the analog side, where I would take a very simple but reliable Canon camera, the EOS 5000. The lens I would use most of the time on this camera would be the very nice 40mm f2.8 lens. But I would also take the 70-200mm f2.8, which is a very sharp zoom lens. Both these two lenses I can adapt to my Hasselblad, the 40mm giving a nice 32mm equivalent focal length with absolutely no vignetting. I have reviewed this lens before, you can watch it up here. And it is an incredible performance even on the Hasselblad camera. The 70-200mm vignettes a bit at the extreme end of the focal range, but again a tiny bit of cropping will fix that. So I don't find this a big problem. The next set is, despite having the Hasselblad X2D as the main camera, very much different. The secondary digital camera is branded Hasselblad and named Hasselblad Luna, but it actually is underneath a Sony Nex 7 and APS-C crop censored camera. It uses Sony E-mount, and for that I only have one native lens so far, at least. The Sony 16-50mm OSS, a stabilized lens with motorized zoom. But I adapt lenses from the analog camera in this setup. The analog camera being a Minolta Dynax 505 SI. On this I will primarily use the very sharp Cosina 55mm f2.8 lens, but I'll also bring a Sigma 10-20mm f3.5 lens. Between 10 and 13mm that lens vignettes on the 35mm film camera, but used with an adapter on the crop censored Hasselblad Luna, it is just perfect, giving me an equivalent focal range of 15-30mm. How awesome is that? Only the Cosina can be used on the Hasselblad as the 10-20mm vignettes far too much on that large sensor. The next set is kind of a combination of two of the other sets. The Hasselblad X2D is the primary camera and the Hasselblad Luna is the secondary. But now I combine these two with the Canon EOS 5000 analog camera and 3 lenses for this. the 40mm, the 70 to 200mm, and an 85mm f1.8 lens. All these lenses can be used with both the analog camera and the two digital cameras. This gives great versatility. And as both the Canon and especially the Hasselblad lenses are very sharp, this setup can provide awesome image quality. One thing it lacks compared to the Hasselblad with Nikon second and third setup is the very wide option of a Nikon 24mm on my Hasselblad. And as I know from my review of this combo, it delivers amazing images. The seventh and last setup that I am considering is a full Canon setup, much like the first set of cameras that were fully Nikon. In this setup, the primary camera is the high-resolution Canon 5 DSR, a camera that I recently made a review of. You can watch it by clicking the link up here. It's a 50 megapixel camera, and it delivers magical images, especially if you like the kind of muted colors Canon typically deliver. For this camera, the primary lens would be the very sharp 24 to 70 f4L lens that even has image stabilization built into it. I combine this with the 70 to 200mm f2.8 that I also have in some of the other sets. Combine the 5 DSR with the very small APS-C based mirrorless Canon M50 Mark II from Canon's first foray into the mirrorless scene. For this camera I only have one native lens, this 15 to 45mm, a tiny but decently sharp lens. With an adapter I can use all the other Canon lenses on this camera with its 1.6 times crop. I add a 10 to 18mm lens to this combo, a lens that can't be used on the full frame camera as it crops quite heavily during most of its focal range. The last setup is again completed with the analog Canon EOS 5000 and the 40mm f2.8 mounted to it. This last setup is amongst the most versatile setups of my 7 options, covering focal lengths from 16 with the 10mm on the Canon M50 to 320mm, again using the M50, but this time with the 70 to 200mm mounted. I am in favor of either the Hasselblad Nikon V1 or one of the Hasselblad Luna setups, although the full Canon setup is also to my liking. But the Hasselblad Luna plus Canon EOS 5000 is by far the heaviest. That is probably a no-go. But what do you think? Let me know what your thoughts are on comment, and please comment below. If you like my channel, please subscribe and also hit the like button on this video so others can find it. So thank you very much for this time and see forward to your input. Bye for now.